Kendra, we see the players wearing those "Pay Us What You Owe Us" shirts during warm-ups. We hear the chants from the crowd. Can you just shed some light on how it was the players came to this unified decision that they wanted to wear these T-shirts and make that statement?
Yeah, Malika, these shirts had been in the works for about a week leading up to Saturday night's game. It was really spearheaded by the leaders, the player leaders of the PA. As you heard Kelsey Plum say, they wanted to make a collected, united statement, and they felt they don't have to use words to do that. We know that in 2020, they wore shirts that supported the Black Lives Matter movement. They've also worn shirts that supported Brittany Griner when she was being detained overseas. So they knew that shirts would be a powerful and useful way to get their messaging across. Now, there was a players-only meeting on Saturday morning, very early, around 8 a.m., so a couple people didn't quite make it down. We all know how big of a party All-Star Weekend was, but the meeting was just to get on the same page, to make sure everyone felt comfortable wearing those shirts and that everyone was ready to go out and make this statement, take the message, the conversations that they've been having behind closed doors for the last couple months and bring them to the national forefront. As you said, Malika, this was such a huge All-Star weekend. So many eyes were on this weekend. They knew that they could really get their point across here.
Yeah, and you mentioned that not every player was represented, not every player was able to attend that early morning meeting. I was told that representatives from the Players Association made sure to chat with players ahead of this game so that everyone could get on the same page. We know that All-Star weekend, it is as much about the party as what's happening on the floor as it is about meetings that are able to happen during that span. Can you just update us, Kendra, where do things stand in these CBA negotiations and conversations?
Yeah, it seems like they're at a little bit of a standstill. The part that is really holding everything up is the topic of increased salary, and what the players are saying is getting a bigger piece of the pie when it comes to revenue shares. That is what Nafisa Collier told me is their non-negotiable. It's the area that they're not budging on. And it's something that the players were very disappointed the league didn't address as much in that meeting that they had on Thursday in Indy. Over 40 players attending that. So players looked at that, and Brianna Stewart even said it was a missed opportunity because we didn't get much progress on this area. Now moving forward, Malika, it's unclear if there's going to be another in-person meeting. Certainly not one of that magnitude with 40 players going. But Nneka Gumake, the union president, said, look, we've seen the growth in the league, and as it stands, the current salary system isn't paying us what we are owed, which was, of course, the messaging on those shirts. Nneka said we want to be able to have that fair share moving forward, especially as we see all of the investment going on, and we want to be able to have our salaries reflected in the structure that makes sense to us.
Yeah, Nneka always so clearly piercing through for the voice of the players as to what their goal is in these negotiations. Kendra Andrews, I always appreciate spending a little time with you, sis, on NBA Today.
I'm Ace, and this is Ace on His Takes. Ladies, come on. Let's come to the front of the congregation. Let's have a little powwow, right? I mean, honestly, a lot of people have been giving these ladies a lot of flack, you know what I'm saying? Just with them saying, pay us what you owe us, right? I understand it. I get it. However, from some of the research that I actually been looking at and just kind of going over as well, from everything that I've been seeing, the WNBA has not made any money, right? They haven't made anything from everything that I've seen, right? And last year, what you would think has been their biggest year has been their biggest loss as far as them as a collective, as a WNBA. So they've been losing $10 million every single year. But last year, for some reason, I haven't gotten into all of the weeds, right? But they have lost $40 million just last year by itself, right? And the sport itself has been really, honestly, kind of held on by the NBA, by the actual men, right? Because, you know, it's the WNBA is like a how can I put it? I don't want to say a trust fund baby, right? You know what I'm saying? Regardless of how much you screw up, it's so much money all over here to where you really cannot lose. Like, you cannot fail, right? And so that's what the WNBA is right now, is just a trust fund baby. Okay, because the NBA still is actually helping fund the WNBA. And it's crazy to me because it's more women out here. And if women actually were the ones that help push and just kind of watch the WNBA, because there's more women out here than men, right? So if the women actually watch the WNBA, and buy tickets and buy the merch and buy the shoes and do this and do that and all those other kind of things like that, right? I really believe that they would be so much farther along than where they are. Now, as well, you got to think about this as well. The WNBA is 27 years old as well, right? So it's not like it's, a 50, 60, 70 year situation. It has only been around for like 27, 28 years, right? And it's a business, and a lot of business really don't turn profit for years and years and years. And so as of right now, honestly, I do watch the WNBA because my actually favorite player is A'ja Wilson. I'm from South Carolina. She went to the Gamecocks, you know what I'm saying? And she's won a lot of championships. And so I really didn't get invested into the WNBA until after A'ja Wilson got to the WNBA. That's just me. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. I think that this was an actual miss by the ladies, and I think that what's going to end up happening is they will still need to go overseas. I hate to say it, and play in the WNBA and then go overseas and make majority of their money overseas. It sucks. I get it. I understand. That's why Brittany Griner got in that situation, with the pin or whatever her situation was, right? Because she was overseas playing basketball. And I honestly think that that's going to be the best situation for them, which sucks, but it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to let them rock out and just kind of, give us more information and go from there.
Let's dive into the numbers here that we're hearing WNBA players talk about, because I want to be very clear. Right now, there's a lot of folks having a lot of conversations in various different spaces about what WNBA players are or are not owed and deserved. And frankly, Bobby, it's getting a little bit loud and a little bit confusing, I think, for a lot of people. And you've made it your summer homework to really dive into the numbers, to the CBA here. When we talk about big words like revenue share, what does that actually mean? What are WNBA players getting?
I would say it's eye-opening as far as where this WNBA salary cap and certainly where the CBA right now. Right now we're looking at 9% of revenue sharing that WNBA players are receiving. Now, for example, what NBA players is 51%. So, of course, there is a significant gap in revenue there. This CBA was done in January of 2020.
All right, people, listen. I know a good bit about business, right? You know what I'm saying? And as far as the NBA, they have been fighting for the NBA to get where it is since like the 60s, right? For it to get here, right? You got guys now making $300+ million contracts. Now, that comes from everything. That comes from the TV revenue. That comes from, just merchandise. That come from a lot of the sponsorship, a lot of just everything kind of in one, right? And the guys have negotiated to get them to where they are, which is 51%. Now, the women currently is at 9%, right? Now, I know a lot of people are like, oh my God, why are the women not making as much as the men? Because they're not bringing in as much as the men. They aren't. It just is a fact, right? And so if you have a business and for your business to, let's just say, even break even in a year, you need $100,000, right? But this year, you end up spending $130,000, right? Did your business make money? No. So now you're already in the negative. You're at a negative $30,000. But you know for a fact, next year I need $130,000, even halfway break even. But now you're at a negative 170, right? It's not it's just losing money, people. It literally, you have to have a break-even point, and they just are not at the break-even point. They're losing money every single year. It has not been profitable at all. You have had teams in Detroit that they currently do not have anymore. If I'm not mistaken, they had a team in Miami that they once had that they don't have anymore, right? And so they're talking about expanding the league, which actually helps because now you have more teams generating more money and so on and so forth, right? Cool. That's just a slight business. That's just kind of, let's just have a little quick business talk, right? Which is great. However, you have to have the revenue to keep up with paying everybody and for those people that are putting in their money to get their money back at some point. And it's just a lose-lose situation for everybody in this situation. But luckily for them, going back to what I said earlier, they're a trust fund baby. Okay, so regardless of how much you lose, how much you fuck up, how much whatever, you're always gonna have enough money to where you cannot fail. Okay.
Money before COVID hit, of course. We are in different times right now. There are going to be 5 new expansion teams in the near future. There is a new national TV deal that is going to be signed. Teams are selling at 9-figure numbers here. The system as is right now is flawed.
Yeah.
The reality is that when the first pick in the draft, Paige Beckers, is signing for $78,000 a year, it's flawed. The system is not designed to increase as revenue increases. The system right now is there's a 3% increase no matter what. No matter if there's $1 billion in revenue or if there's $40 million in losses. So when they're talking about what needs to change, it certainly starts with revenue, and it certainly starts with as far as increasing player salaries.
And players aren't caught up in the idea of, well, NBA players, it's a 51% revenue share versus 9%. I keep coming back to this idea of transparency, because it's 9% of what? There doesn't seem to be a clear...
You have to make money to get money, people. It's just that simple. Like, I don't have here, y'all making me pull it out, right? Like, I can't just pull $100 million out of the sky. Like, it has to come from someplace. If you don't have a place of where you can actually get this funds from, if people aren't buying, if people aren't spending as much money on the tickets, people aren't buying merch, like I feel like I'm just keep saying the same exact thing. You have to find the money from someplace. You have to. And they're just not doing it. All right. So please go support the WNBA. Go support those ladies. Like I said, my favorite team is the Aces. It's not just because my name is Ace, no. But Asia Wilson is my favorite player, okay? And she's from South Carolina as well. So, hey, if you want to make the Aces your team, that's great. But, you know, it is what it is. Please also like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. And I'm out. Peace.